So let's start with this workshop that is writing applicant statement for external funding opportunities in a research-based program. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cecilia Kramer. I'm the advisor of fellowship application development at the School of Graduate Studies. Basically, my work here at the SGS is helping you through the whole process of applying to any of these external funding opportunities that we will be talking about, how to write these writing applications, the statements, the research proposal, any question that you may have about the content, I can help you. So you can send me an email, or once you have the slides, you can click here and you can book a meeting with me. If you're still unsure if you're eligible to any of these opportunities, or you want to see what other opportunities are available to you, then you can contact Catherine. She's the external awards advisor, and you can contact her using this email, or also book a meeting with her to have a one-on-one conversation. So today we are going to focus in those that are applying to these agencies, the federal tri-agency or the provincial, what we call FRQ. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this because I will expect you to already have some knowledge if you're eligible, where you are going to be applying, if you're a master, a PhD. I'm just going to give like a very, very brief overview of these awards. Tri-agency awards. This is the federal. This is open to Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and protected persons. There is a direct application in the agency system, but there is a pre-selection process in Concordia. So the deadlines that we are talking about in the tri-agency awards are internal deadlines. So for the Canada Graduate Scholarship Masters, that's what we call the CGSM, the application deadline is December 1st, and the value starting this year is $27,000 per year for 1 year. Okay, for those of you applying for PhD funding, the Canada Graduate Scholarship Doctoral, the value is $40,000 per year for up to 3 years. And each agency has a different deadline. For SHERC doctoral, those of you applying through the social sciences and humanities, the deadline is September 27. For those applying to ANSERC, that is the Nature and Technology, why I speak in French, I don't know, and CIHR, so Nature and Technology and Health, the deadline is October 11. Okay? Moving very quickly to the FRQ awards. These are the Fonds de Recherche du Québec. This is the provincial agency. This is open to Quebec residents or to students admitted to a graduate program. So if you are already in the program with the letter of admission, you can apply to these awards, or students that are supported by a supervisor. So if you are not in the program yet, but you do have a supervisor or someone that can vouch for you and can write a letter, like a supervisor's form, then you are able to apply. There's also direct application in the FRQ system. And here there's no internal deadlines. There is no pre-selection process at Concordia. So you apply to the system in the application, in the deadlines that the FRQ is setting. So for FRQ-SC, that is Société et Culture, is October 1st. For masters and doctorals, for FRQ-NT is October 2nd. For masters and doctorals, and for FRQS, that is the health, is October 3rd for masters and doctorals. Masters is $20,000 per year for up to 2 years, and PhD doctoral scholarships is $25,000 per year for up to 4 years. 12 semesters is 4 years. Yes, if you are eligible to apply to both agencies, please apply at the same competition, because we will see it in this presentation. The things that you will have to write, the research proposal and all these applicant statements that you will have to write are very, very similar between the agencies. So the work that you're doing, it can be really like rework and use between these agencies. It doesn't mean that you are going to be holding these awards simultaneously, but you can take them consecutively. So for example, for a master's, you can have the first year the federal tri-agency award, and then the next year you will have the provincial, the FRQ. So your whole program will be funded by just applying in one fall competition. Okay, here are the deadlines. As I say, FRQs are early October. SHERC doctoral is September 27, LCERC and CIHR doctoral is October 11, and Masters for Tri-Agency is December 1st. All competitions except the CGSM are already open. So if you are applying to FRQ, Masters or Doctorals, or if you're applying to the Tri-Agency in the doctoral level, you can start applying right now. What do you need to do to apply for all these scholarships? I created a checklist for all of these awards, but this is for you to review at your own time, because even if they are very, very similar, each competition has different uh, things. For example, here I have the checklist for the CGS Masters. So for a master, of course, you need the application, you need a summary of the proposal. All these competitions, they will require an outline of the proposed research, your research project. It depends, 1 page or 2 pages, depends on the competition. And that will come with the bibliography. Bibliography basically is all the in-text citation that you're using to support your research. I do have videos explaining this, so I'm not gonna go in depth in here. Then you will need transcripts, reference letters, Canadian Common CV, and the only applicant statement or the personal statement that the CGSM um, allows is the special circumstances letter. We're going to talk about this. For the short doctoral, again, you have the research proposal and all these things. What, as a terms of like personal statements, what the short doctoral allows is the special circumstances statement and then research contributions, relevant experience and activity. We're going to talk about this. You can also review the answer. This is just for you to have to make the process a bit easier, all the things that you will need to write. CIHR is a bit different. So the personal statement that they will require is a training expectations. We are going to be talking about this, but you can see that all of them, they will require some things like transcripts. All of them, they will require official transcripts. All of them, they will require a research project. Um, and most of them, they will require these special personal statements are here for. So as you saw, all the main elements of an application are the CV. Depending on the competition, they have different ways. You have to fill forms. You have to complete the Canadian Common CV. There's online CV. So this really depends on the competition. Then you will need transcripts. So transcripts, please, if you are applying for FRQ, they have to be official. For the tri-agency, they're a bit more flexible, but in my experience, they have to be official too. Like it's better if they are official. Reference letters, no for FRQ, but if you're applying for the tri-agencies, you will need reference letters, applicant statements, and the research proposal. So today, we are just focusing in what we call applicant statements. For all the rest, I have another workshop, I have another video. If you're still wondering where you should apply, go and watch those videos. Today, we are focusing on this, applicant statements. This is what I call personal statements. So if you hear me talk about applicant personal statements, I'm saying the same things. So what I call personal statements is that everything that is not a research proposal. They can take many shapes: research contributions, statements on leadership, relevant experience, special circumstances, justification of research locations. So it really, really, really depends on the competition that you're going to be applying. I will go through all the personal statements that you will need to apply for tri-agencies and FRQ. Okay, who need to write this? So all of you applying to FRQ, master's or doctoral levels, you all need to write these kind of statements. For those of you applying for tri-agency, SHERC and CERC and CIHR doctorals, they do have personal statements. And as I say, the CGSM, the master's level for the tri-agency, the only personal statement that they have is the one that is called special circumstances statement. So let's start with that one. The special circumstances letter is a letter that all awards are allowing for the students to add. This is optional. This is not required. This is only if you want to tell the committee reviewers something that is special about your circumstances, right? It depends on the application. It's half page or one page. So if it's half page, take how many lines in the font, let's say Times New Roman 12, how many lines that is one page. So half of it, that's what is allowed. So why I will encourage you to use the special circumstances and what this is. So any circumstances that have an impact in your academic trajectory, you can use the special circumstances to explain it. And any impact, it can be anything that it takes you out of the norm of like bachelor, master's, PhD, all one after the other one. So for example, if you start your bachelor, you did 3 years working in the industry, and then you're coming back to do a master, you can explain that why. If you did a bachelor in, I don't know, in business, and then you did another bachelor in art history, and now you're doing a PhD in art history, explain why. Like why you did a bachelor in something and then you changed to do something else, and now you're doing a PhD. So all these things, they can be explained in this special circumstances letter. Another thing, for example, that you can explain, you take, I don't know, your GPA in the first semester was very low because whatever reason, whatever personal reason that happened in your life, you can explain me why. You don't have to go into detail, but you can explain, okay, because family circumstances this semester I couldn't perform as I wanted, and that's why my GPA is low. So everything that you are kind of putting in this special circumstances letter, I will suggest you to tweak it in a way that it shows that you overcame this challenge. For example, you have this low GPA in one of the semesters in your undergrad, but then you get motivated, you get, I don't know, focus, and you were able to achieve a good GPA by the end of your undergrad. Um, or for example, this case of like doing a bachelor in something and then going back to academia to do another bachelor is maybe it's because you thought that business was your path, but then you understood and you are a more mature student and you understand what's your career. So you want to do a bachelor in art history. So really, really try to use all the things that you're going to put here in the special circumstances as a way to explain something that happened, but how you overcame this. So they will ask you to include start and end dates, the impact area, the reason, a brief explanation of why this was happening. You're not required to justify it, but it is important to explain why it was happening so it doesn't came out of the blue. The agencies and FRQ, they really ask the reviewers to take this into consideration. So I've been sitting in committee meetings, internal reviews, and we do talk about the special circumstances. And I do know that the reviewers are reading this and they are taking this into consideration. You can also explain, for example, I have students that are coming from different countries. Um, and even the GPA, it seems low, but then the GPA in those countries, like it's extremely hard to get a B, so you can also explain that here. So all these things you can explain. For example, this is just a list of the things, but you can already see that there is very, very broad. Health problems, family responsibilities, disabilities, trauma, cultural community responsibilities, pandemic impact. So all these things they will take into consideration. So if you feel that there's something in your path that you can add, then I will strongly encourage you to write the special circumstances letter. We are going to start with the tri-agencies. 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 I'm gonna go through all the different agencies and CERC, CIHR, SHERC. So I'm sorry if you're not applying to NCERC, then you're gonna also read about this. But the tips and the information I'm gonna give is pretty much similar for everyone. So NCERC, you have 2 pages to write, maximum 2 pages. You have to be selective. This is only for NCERC doctoral, sorry. Masters, you don't need it. So you will have 2 pages and 3 parts, part 1, 2, and 3. And this is something that it says in the agency, given the page limits, be selective and summarize information where appropriate. You must provide information in these 3 parts listed below and provide the required information using the specified heading below. So part 1, part 1. This is contributions to research and development. What this means, and they will ask you some guidelines, right? Begin with your most recent contribution and list each entry on a new line. So this is basically kind of your CV, right? So articles that are published or accepted in peer-reviewed journals, other peer-review contributions. So you have to use these headings to list all your contributions. Then non-peer review, for example, technical reports, preprints. Peer review and non-peer review basically is if your article or your publication was reviewed by another person and that person says, yes, we are going to accept this for publication. Non-peer review, for example, can be a blog that no one like review it and say, yes, okay, go for it, or a technical report, or I don't know, posters. They also allow articles submitted because they are still not review, they are not peer review, right? So they are allowing articles submitted, technology transfer, then contributions resulting from your participation in industry, and then awarded and submitted patents and copyrights. All these things, you can add them in contributions to research and development. This is an example. We are going to be seeing another example from an awardee. But this is an example that the agency are posting in the website. So for example, you start 1, contribution to research and development, articles published, and then you just put the article. And if you see here in brackets, there's a very, very tiny explanation on where this is coming from, PhD work. Okay, so you are allowed to do a very tiny explanation of where this article is coming from. We're going to be seeing other examples of this. So once you have the part 1 with all the lists, then from this list that you already have in part 1, you will have to choose up to 3 that you judge to be the most significant to your research and development. Okay? So be conscious how you are choosing these 3. For example, if you finish your master's and you have 3 papers from your master's, but also you have another paper or another collaboration with someone else, and you also work in the industry. So maybe don't choose the 3 contributions that are coming from your master. Be smart choosing this. Be smart. Maybe you choose 1 contribution for your master's, 1 contribution from the industry, 1 contribution from your collaboration. So really, really try to highlight different things from you. Because here, this is not just a list of, okay, these are my top 3. You have to explain them. In the part 2, from those 3 top contributions, you have to describe it, why it's important, your role in this. For example, if you were a first author, or you were the leading researcher in that project, or whatever. Everything, provide all the details. If, for example, this is a project that it was part of a collaboration with these professors, you can put it here, why this work is important. And also, I think it's important to highlight things that you gain from this research contributions that can help you to do the research that you are proposing now. So, for example, you are using a technique during your PhD, and you're proposing to use this technique in your research proposal, and you already have experience with this technique. So you can use this place to say, this project, I was using this technique, or I learned all the important skills that will allow me to fulfill the research project that I'm proposing now. So be very smart with all the things that you're putting in this personal statement, because they will be translated to your research proposal now. So we have the part one is a list of all the contributions. The part two, we are choosing 3 of them and we are describing them. And the third and last part in NSERC is what it calls the applicant statement. So in the applicant statement, they will divide it into research experience and into relevant activities. So research experience is what the name suggests. Everything that you can think about your past experience, including projects, honors thesis, reports, if you have experience working in the industry or wherever, you can add it here. It does say, do not repeat any information you provided in part two. And I think this is very smart, because if you already say something, you don't want to waste space repeating the same. So really, really try to think in this answer doctoral personal statement on a way that you can show very different angles of yourself and that you can give me the most information that you can. So in research experience, we are talking about the science and everything. In relevant activities, you can add professional, academic, and extracurricular activities. So, for example, research experience, we have all the academia, papers, honors thesis, whatever, relevant activities. Maybe we are thinking about, I don't know, if we did an internship with someone, if we started collaboration with someone, if you were part of a community, you're, I don't know, community member of some sort of organization. What else? For example, you are volunteering in some organization, being like a student organization or community organization or whatever. You're organizing conferences, meetings, you're participating in associations, societies. So all that you can add it in relevant activities. Okay. So this is more looking like a narrative. And this is kind of the only place that you can showcase who you are. And this, I'm going to be repeating this in the whole presentation. All these agencies are not just funding researchers, they are also funding people, persons. So you want to show who you are, not only in the lab, in the research group, in academia. Oh, sorry, you also have to show who you are as a person. Are you involved in the community? Do you have different interests? Are you a motivated student? Are you a motivated person? So all those things, you can use relevant activities to showcase that. This is how it looks like. This is from an application that was awarded a few years ago. For you to have an idea, this is part one. If you see, there are clear headings, and this is just a list. You see here, for example, in the second one, Smith John FA, national HBA work. This one, the third one, international. So you can have some kind of detail, but don't go crazy. In the part two, this person chose to do a narrative way, and he chose 3 of these contributions and clearly stated. You can also use like bullet points and make paragraphs. So the 3 contributions are very, very clear, but this is up to you. But the 3 contributions has to be there, and you can see that it's really, really explaining and going in depth, not only what the contribution was, you will be able to read this at your own time, but also what he gained from this. For example, for those of you that know about dreads, so he was the novel technique, dreads technique. This student, he was using that technique in the research proposal. So it really becomes very, very relevant. And finally, we have the applicant statement, the research experience and relevant activities. So he also divided in research experience and relevant activities. So this is basically how it should look like. CIHR. CIHR is a bit different. I'm sorry for those of you that are applying to SHERC, is coming. So CIHR, as I say, is a bit different. You also have 2 pages, but what they are going to be asking in this personal statement is training expectations. So you don't have to describe your research experience. You don't have to describe your past contributions. This is basically describing um, how this PhD is going to help you to get where you want to be. So you can describe professional, academic, and extracurricular experiences and how it will contribute to your training, how the training they expect to acquire will contribute to their productivity and to the research goals they hope to achieve, how their expected training strive to foster impacts within and beyond the research environment and will contribute to the Canadian research ecosystem during and beyond. Indicate why they decide upon the proposed training location, and if you're registering a joint doctoral program, how this program contains a significant research component. So basically, when you want to do here, you want to be very smart. For CIHR doctoral people, you only have 1 page to write a research proposal. So use this training expectation letter to give more information about probably that research proposal. So usually when we write a research proposal, we are also talking about our supervisor. We are talking about why we chose Concordia, why we chose this lab. So all that paragraph that you can put in the research proposal, you can bring it here and you can write about that here. If you are using any technique during your research proposal, you can take that technique, you can mention it, of course, there, but then you can write more about that technique here in training expectations. Um, this is during your tenure of the award and beyond. So why you're choosing this program and how this program is going to help you to be the professor, the academic that you want to be in the future. So all those things, they have to be in the training expectation. As I say, be as smart as possible with the information and how you are dividing the information. The research proposal, you're not going to have a lot of space to write a lot. So many of the things that you would like to write in the research proposal, you can bring it here. Okay. I don't think I have. Yes. This is this is just an example, but I just wanted to show how the student did it. So this student divided the training expectation in different sections to organize the information a bit better. So previous professional academic experience, expected training for productivity, expected training for impact, decision for the training location. So this really help the reviewers to understand a bit more what you want to achieve with information that you're giving. So as I say, use this section wisely. You only have 1 page of research proposal, maybe some information you will normally add there, you can add it here. Supervisor expertise, your experience in the field, the rationale of choosing Concordia. Also, the relevance of the proposal in and outside academia can also be added here. So really be smart with this. So the shared doctoral is similar to NSERC. So shared doctorals is maximum 2 pages and it's called Research Contributions, Relevant Experience and Activities. So we have 2 parts. The first part is what is called research contributions. And I want to spend some time talking about what research means in social sciences. And CERC and CIHR is quite straightforward. We're talking about publication, conferences, patents. Social sciences, it allows a bit more. It allows a bit to be a bit more broad and be more like open. So we are talking referee contributions. It can be books, monographs, book chapter, articles, conference proceeding, other referee contributions, articles in professional or trade journals, papers presented at meetings. Again, non-referee contributions. This is the book reviews, published reviews of your work, research reports, policy papers, public lectures, poster, community products. So basically all these things that they didn't go through this peer review process, they will allow forthcoming contributions. So papers, books, or whatever that is submitted, that is revised and submitted, accepted, or impressed. All these contributions that they are not submitted, you cannot list it, right? For example, if you have working papers or you have a book that you're working on the book, but it's going to be published in winter 2025, no, because there's not really any proof that that's happening. So you can list like 20 papers that you're working, so no, only the submitted ones. And finally, creative outputs. So for those of you that are in a research creation process or your career was based more about arts, musicians, painters, like anything, all these things, they can be listed as research contributions. So if you are an artist that has 20 years of experience and now you're starting your master and you come to me saying like, I don't have a research contribution, that's a lie. You have a lot. Because they will allow all these things to really think about it as a research, right? So applicants whose research outputs include an artistic creation can list their most significant achievements, starting with the most recent in a separate category, creative outputs. Examples of creative outputs can include exhibitions, performances, publications, presentations, film, video, and audio recordings. I will show you an example, and I will kind of like try to explain how might be the best way of putting it because I know that most of you are like, but I have like 120 audio recordings. How do I put everything here? So there are some ways to do that. But this is part one, right? So the part one is going to look like a list of your research contributions. Applicant statement is the part two, and this is the narrative part. Again, you have the relevant experience and the relevant activities. As I say, this part is very similar to the NSERC part. You have to describe the research abilities, training relevant to your proposed research. Um, you have a relevant work experience. All these go to relevant experience. Relevant activities, we're talking more about professional, academic, extracurricular activities, collaborations, teaching, mentoring, supervisor, coaching, managing projects, community outreach, volunteer work, pretty much everything that you think about your life that can be kind of translated to some research or something that is relevant to the program that you're doing now, or even doesn't have to be research, right? Like if you were a teacher for like 20 years or a psychologist for 20 years and now you're doing a master or PhD in something relevant, of course, you have to add it here because that's extremely relevant to what you're going to be doing in your PhD. So really think about your whole life, your whole career, and add everything. So this is how it looks like, kind of. I'm sorry that it's all black. I do have um, this application, so you will be able to read it at your own time. So the part one, even though there is a bullet point, You can specify your role in each contribution. So for example, if you're doing exhibition, tell me a solo exhibition, you were part of a group. I don't know, you did a concert like international. So you can explain a bit more. For example, this student selected albums. This student, he had like 20 years of experience as a musician. These are only selected albums. He may have like 50 albums. So one thing, he didn't do it, but something that you can do is like put selected albums. For my 20 years of career, I have 50 albums. Here are the selected ones. Same if you have like, I don't know, 20 papers. In my career, I published 20 papers. Here are the top five, or the ones in the last 5 years. So just try to use this in a smart way. Try to, like really tell me everything that you have done, creative contributions, creative outputs. You have done, I don't know, 30 exhibitions. You are not going to be able to list them here. So maybe say, like, from my 32 exhibitions I have done in the last 20 years, these are more relevant to my work now. So you can be smart and you can actually give me the numbers here and the selected ones. And the part two, heavy on text, really, this is the moment to show me who you are, same as with the insert. If we're working together, I will never change your narrative style. I will only try to find wordings that looks better. But this is the way that you have to showcase the reviewers who you are as a researcher, a student, and a person. So really, really use wisely and really put some effort on this because, and this is something I always say, even if I don't know you, by reading this application, I do have a feeling of who you are. So you really want to convey that. We are going to go to FRQ. So this is for all of you. FRQ, masters, doctorals, FRQSC, FRQS, FRQNT, all the awards in FRQ, they are requiring these two personal statements. The first one is what is called relevant experience and achievements. You will see that this is very, very similar to what we've been talking about. So if you're applying to share doctoral, if you're applying to insert doctoral, CIHR is a bit more tricky, but you can take that information and you can like reformulate it in a way that it fits these guidelines, right? So it's not a lot of extra work. So for masters, FRQ is only 2 pages, and for doctorals is 4 pages. So here they allow you to expand. So what do we talk about? Relevant experience and achievements. It says list and describe the experience and achievements that have helped you develop your interest and potential for research. And the keywords here is list and describe. This is not a bullet point, how we were talking in NSERC. This is more a description. Here you will have to do what I just say about Shark Doctoral. Give me more explanation how this book uh, was achieved, how this exhibition was performed, how this, I don't know, research project came to life. So with relevant experience, we are talking about teaching, mentoring, assistantship, participation in research projects, internships. Um, so be careful to distinguish between compulsory research training internship that are part of the academic curriculum of the study program and optional or self-initiated internship. What does it mean? If you're taking a course or you took a course during your undergrad and that course you needed to do some research project, that is not really what we are talking about relevant experience. You can add it, but you will have to explain it. The start and the end dates. So that's relevant activities. When we're talking about scientific achievements, conferences, presentations, publications. So you do have a long list of guidelines. We're going to be seeing this, but there's ways that you will have to follow to mention all these things. So these are the 3 headings that you will have to fill. So other achievements, Other achievements is why we were talking about relevant activities, right? Any other experience that demonstrate your engagement in an academic or non-academic setting. So while we were talking about relevant activities, volunteering, being a community, like a member of any community or whatever, you can add it to other achievements. These are the guidelines. You have this in the FRQ website. I put it here because I kind of have a feeling that you're not going to read it. So you have to list by category, starting with the most recent. And these are the categories: referee publications, such as peer-reviewed journal articles, published books or chapters, contributions to a collective work, including oral and poster presentations. So you will be having to categorize all these things. You have to mention conference proceedings, identify the referee publication with an asterisk. So they will ask you, like, indicate where applicable specific policies regarding publications. Submitted articles are only considered if accompanied by a copy of the acknowledgement of receipt from the publisher. So when you're going to FRQ, if you are putting an article that is submitted but is not accepted yet, you will have at the end of the FRQ form, the website, you will have to upload the letter or the email saying that the article has been submitted. So here it says at the end, in the other document section, type of documents, submitted and accepted articles proof, you can uh, upload the submitted articles letter. Articles in preparations are not considered if they have not been submitted. This is the same for SHERC and for NSERC and CIHR2. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so you can see that we have categories: industrial experiences, academic experiences, mentoring activities, review activities. This is a category. This is a list of all the things inside. So we have industrial experiences, instrumentation and control engineering, electrical and control engineering, teacher assistant, and it's not only a list. These people is describing, okay? And they are very smart at describing because I have experience working in a large government, like it's really talking all the experience, all the skills that this person gained, all the, for example, the mentoring that has number of mentors 10, and then explain what was the context, how it was the mentorship. So really, really use this as a CV because FRQ doesn't really have a CV online. They will only ask you about awards, scholarships, and degrees, I think, in the form. So this is the moment that you have to really express your CV and use it as a CV cover letter. So really explain what all these things have shaped you into who you are now, why you're doing your program now, why you're doing the research proposal. So this was a PhD. So you can see there were 4 pages. So this is a lot of information. These students use a lot of space. So if you have more things to add it, there's a lot of blank space here. I don't know if you see my cursor, but there's a lot of blank space here that you can like reduce. So here the student had a lot of more space they can fill it. But that's fine. That's fine. You do not need to fill 4 pages. It's up to 4 pages. Do your best, but if you don't have experience, don't come up with new things. So I'm gonna move to the last one of FRQ, that is the integrated presentation of academic background. What is this? So this this is a one-page document for master's and PhD, is the same one page. And this is something important here that I want to share with you. While there are no evaluation criteria for this, so they're not going to be grading this, the integrated background presentation can help the review committee to better understand, contextualize, and assess your academic record, background, and contributions. You are not expected to disclose any personal, sensitive, or confidential information. And I just wanted to say this to address what I just said a few seconds ago. They are taking this application as a whole, not only as a researcher, not only as an academic, but also as a person. So whatever you feel like the reviewer should know about you, you can put it in this integrated presentation of academic background, your motivation, why you're choosing the program. Here it says describe the links between your experiences and interests on the one hand and your education, training, and career choices on the other. So here basically you will have to tell me the story of how you came to this place. Maybe you, I don't know, I have students that they start writing about their dream during high school or how um, their hobbies and things they shape into a career and the motivation and the passion they have for this field, and really really try to explain why you're doing the program that you're doing, and use this place to explain all these um, personal motivations, I will say, but also like the experience that you have in life and the experience. This is not a special circumstances letter. You don't have to explain things like, oh, my GPA was low, all this, but really, really use it for me to have a feeling of who you are and why you really want to do this PhD or a master program. Um, Again, these are not going to be evaluated, but this is critical. Sorry, this is critical for the reviewers to kind of get to know you. And I always say this, reviewers are people, people have biases, and if they have empathy with you, they will see your research project in a different way, or they will go to the research contribution and say, this student only had one publication, but look what all these things they have done. So maybe be smart on how you are writing this. Okay, so here I just show you how it looks like. There's no secret in this. This is just an essay. This is just, for example, the student started with my undergrad program. So it's explained me a bit of why he was doing whatever. He was ranked at 9 in his university. So really explain why. I think the student was an international student, so why he chose Concordia, what was the motivation to move to Canada. And you can also write about your supervisor, why you chose your supervisor, if that helps to understand your motivation and your desire to pursue this program. So really, really use it um, very, very wisely. And that's it, what I have to say about this. I'm going to skip this question part because I just want to give you the tips on how we are writing these personal statements, the part of research contributions and the part of like, maybe not relevant experience, but the research contributions per se, it is what you have done. Like there's nothing else to do. Like if you are thinking about applying this fall, it's very, very hard that you're going to be doing something else. It's very hard that you're going to be like writing a new article in this month. So maybe if you're thinking applying next year, okay, you know what you have to do to strengthen your CV, your strengthen your application, focus on research contributions if you don't have any. This is a list. It's very like showing what you have done. For the rest, all the relevant activities, relevant experiences, the integrated presentation of background, the special circumstances, this is the narrative of you. So if we are working together, you will see that I will not change your narrative. I will not modify things of how you are writing, but I will try to highlight some things that maybe they are not coming across how you would like to. And I do feel like many of students, they 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 have the fear of being too arrogant, so they actually go through the other side and they're being very humble. And it happens to me too. It's like, yeah, I did a PhD. So what? No, hey, I did a PhD. Like I am in this program. I moved to Canada. So really, really everything that you have done, you really have to own it. You really are the focus here. And if you came to any of my other workshops or you saw any of my other videos, this is something that I really, really um, encourage you to do. I think everyone should be writing one of these personal statements in their life, even if they are not applying to any of these competitions, because it really try to change the perspective of how you're thinking about yourself. Like this thing of like of being empowered or being like the actor of your life. So this is how these personal statements, this is the right mindset that you should have when you're writing these personal statements. If there's any weakness, something that you, I don't know, something that happened, for example, low GPA, you can also explain it to me here. If there's something that we have seen in your transcript, you can proactively address all these things, but always, always how you overcame challenges, how you accomplish meaningful things. So don't address new weakness. Like if we don't see them in your transcript, we don't see them in your research proposal, don't tell me something that I don't need to know. But try to everything that you are putting, like really like try to change it to the how you are overcoming this. And then all these personal statements, they are very a good moment for you to assess the impact of your activity in the academia and outside the academia. Like as I keep saying it, the funding of these awards are not only for academic, but also for people. And what I'm trying also to say with that is the research that you're going to be doing, it has to have an impact in the community. So the research that you're doing, if it's staying in the research community, in the academia, then we're going to have a problem, right? Because these are taxpayer money and the agencies, they really want to see this research coming out of the lab, coming out of the research group. So really try to explain why this was important for you, why you want to do this research, and who is this research helping you, why you are deserving of this scholarship. Okay. And finally, you can use these personal statements to address the feasibility of the proposed research and how we're doing this, relevant experience, relevant activities. For example, um, I don't know, you are, I'm thinking about examples that I know from you guys, but I'm trying to think about something new. I don't know, you're an engineer, you're using this technique in relevant activities, you can explain me how you managed to learn um, this technique. If you are working with kids, I don't know, you're doing an art education and you're working with children in the relevant experience, maybe you can tell me like you have 10 years of being a kindergarten teacher. So really, really address the feasibility in this indirect way. Just give me hints of all the things that you know that you are, because you're going to be using in the research proposal. It takes time, apply to everything that you can, but also don't be discouraged. This, I know that you're putting a lot of effort and a lot of heart on this application, and also these personal statements are so hard to write because they are more personal than a research proposal. So be patient, give it to people to read it, people that knows you to read it, because they will be like, hey, why you're not putting that you did this and that. So those, they might be a good people to highlight things that you are missing, because sometimes we don't think that things are important. Be patient. Again, use me, like you can send me your draft. I'm getting a bit overbooked at the moment, but I will send you my advice and my comments as soon as I can. Um, this is where we are, August 21st. So there are still some workshops that they might be interested for you. In September 10 and 11, we are going to be doing peer review exercises. If you're going to apply to all of these scholarships, I encourage you to come. It's going to be a 2-hour session where you are going to be reading someone else's application from kind of your same field, and someone is going to be reading your draft. So you do have to come with some sort of draft already kind of half baked. And you are going to be able to give feedback and receive feedback. And this is the best way for me to really avoid being too jargon and to really understand if your proposal is understandable. You will also have here, I think I already shared with you guys, like Answer has an amazing YouTube channel with advice and tips about the CGS program, so you can really read them. I am creating a playlist with all the videos of all my workshops, so I will also share with you. And as you know, this is our graduate awards team. This is me. This is my email. You can contact me anytime. And this is Catherine. Catherine, she will answer all the questions about eligibility. Should I apply to SHERC? Should I apply to CIHR? What are my options? She is the person to contact.